A few years ago, Hamilton County, Ohio decided they were going to hide eviction records from landlords. Now, the Ohio State Supreme Court found that that was illegal. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's going over the Supreme Court decision in the state of Ohio over this whole trying to hide eviction records from landlords thing, okay? Now, they found that, hey, that was illegal. They can't do that, okay? It's up to the court system and not the court clerk for Hamilton County, Ohio, to make the decision of whether these records are public or not, okay? And I agree with this. I believe that landlords need every single piece of information possible to make the best decisions for their business, and trying to hide that information, trying to cover it up essentially, and giving a bunch of bad tenants a free pass, that's a bunch of garbage. I disagree with it. I think it was a stupid move, and I'm glad that they got smacked by the state Supreme Court, okay? So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. First of all, do you believe landlords should have access to eviction records going all the way back? I'm talking, if they got eviction records going back to the 60s and 70s, I want to see them, okay? But do you believe that eventually these things should fall off? You know what? I'll give them a break. If after 20 years they petition the court, I could see, okay, you've had a strong tenant history for the last 20 years, and that eviction was a mistake, and now you want to get that removed. After 20 years, I think that's acceptable. But anything short of that, and I believe that the information being withheld from landlords and from the general public is a bad idea. But anyway, I'm going to get into this article and tell you exactly what's going on. Okay, this article is coming from Fox19.com, and it says, Ohio Supreme Court orders Hamilton County Clerk of Courts to put older eviction cases back online. Let's get into it. Hamilton County Clerk of Court Pavan Parikh must put thousands of eviction cases back online and rescind the illegal policy he created to do it, the Ohio Supreme Court ruled on Wednesday. Upholding the appeals court decision last fall, the High Court's unanimous opinion says Parikh can't defy a judicial order by eliminating remote access to online court records of older residential evictions. Without consulting or even informing the 14 county municipal court judges that his elected position serves, Parikh pulled all eviction cases older than 3 years from the judgment date off the clerk's website in 2022. And the funny thing is, right, this is the only type of case that he decided to pull off. Now, if the argument was, well, you know what, no court records from, no civil court proceedings from more than 3 years ago will be available on this website, I would understand that a little bit more. Now, I'd still say that's illegal. I'd still say that that should be up to the court what records are public or not, and not up to a clerk, okay? This is literally the court clerk, not the judges, not the people endowed with the judicial powers. No, it's up to the clerk. Okay, this person's making all the decisions, acting like a freaking dictator on which public records we're able to access. Give me a break, okay? So yeah, I don't agree with it regardless, but I believe that we should have access to these records. And the fact that they singled out eviction records means that they are purposefully picking on landlords. They're purposefully making our businesses harder to run and our jobs harder to do. And that's what I don't like about this. The public records are only available if landlords or anybody else who wanted to see them went in person to the clerk's office in the county jail building in downtown Cincinnati. Parikh told the appeals court he did it because he wanted to prevent certain members of the public, being primarily employers and landlords, from potentially relying upon court documents and considering fulfilling employment, housing, and other potential opportunities to individuals. So basically, he wanted to strip us of our ability to do proper tenant screening, right? He was like, oh, well, you shouldn't be able to use court records to make housing decisions. Like, why not? Okay? Like, so an employer, by the same argument, an employer shouldn't have to see your criminal history in order to make an employment decision. I mean, think about how dumb this sounds. So let's say you have a person who is a convicted thief who steals register from or money from the cash register, right? And you're trying to hire this person. No, we don't want you to see their criminal history because then you might not want to hire them. Well, yeah, that is the consequence of this person committing the crime. That is the consequence in our case of this person not paying their rent and being evicted. We need to know this information because we are not a charity. Okay, we don't give housing willy-nilly to whoever feels like it. At least I don't. Maybe some, really, really dumb landlord somewhere does, right? He's like, oh, I felt bad for this person. Now, they've been evicted 10 times and they're probably not going to pay me, but I have to take care of them. Well, I don't operate it like that, okay? And I'd be willing to bet that 99% of landlords who are watching my videos also do not operate like that. And so we need to know. We need to know if this person has been evicted. Does this person have a criminal history? Does this person have decent credit? It doesn't have to be great. I never said somebody had to have perfect credit and, nothing to be able to rent from my place. No, absolutely not. But we do need a proof that this person pays their debts back. Okay? And, if the person doesn't have these things, then what are we supposed to do? Okay? If we can't even see if the person has those things, what are we supposed to do? Other than relying upon setting our rents super high so that we can weed out the most problem people. That's the only thing we can do. So these sort of things, when we experience a tenant who doesn't pay us or who tears our properties apart, we have to have increases in rent to be able to cover all those additional costs, right? So we don't want those additional costs. If we don't have those additional costs, our rents can be lower. They don't understand these things. So this court clerk decided of their own, or I've got the power, so I'm going to prevent landlords from being able to do what they need to do. Well, you know what? It just pisses me off. And I'm glad the Supreme Court threw this out and said, just straight, this is illegal. However, only the courts, not clerks, have the authority to weigh if and when an individual right to privacy outweighs the strong presumption of public access of court records, the appeals court decision declared. Here, the clerk overreached to exercise a judicial function en masse, specifically conferred to the judges without having the power or right to do so, without any party seeking such relief, and without any evidence being brought to court to justify such restriction. The Supreme Court clearly agreed, stating in their opinion, this policy decision to restrict public access to certain court records infringes on the judge's authority to make such decisions. Fox 19 now left messages seeking comment from both parties. The court welcomes the Supreme Court's unanimous decision to reject the clerk's lawsuit against the municipal court, ending a costly and unnecessary legal battle, said the court's administrative and presiding judge, Josh Berkowitz. Public records belong to the people, who have the right to access them without government interference. That's a great decision, okay? And I wish that more Supreme Courts would step up and throw out these ridiculous laws that are being put into place. I realize that, hey, there are negative effects of somebody having an eviction on their record. There are. But the problem is, right, is it the landlord's responsibility? Is it the landlord's responsibility to make sure that everyone who has a bad eviction history is housed? No, it's not. Okay? We are not obligated to house anyone. It is not our specific purpose to make sure that everybody who is struggling to find housing finds housing. Okay? It is their own personal responsibility to find housing. They screwed up their rental history by getting that eviction, no matter how long ago it was, on it. And now they're facing the consequences, and they don't need some government bureaucrat to come in there and try to save the day for them, because it won't work. This stuff, that's the worst part about these laws. They just don't work. These people still will struggle to find housing. And landlords, in the face of these new restrictions placed upon them will find new methods of screening out the tenants. If they have to, they will go down to the courthouse or the jail in person to get the paperwork. You know, that's what happens. So what do you think of this whole story? Put a comment in the comment section down below.
It's beautiful, right?
You want to take a picture with me?
Oh, sure.
What's your name?
I'm Tony.
Tony, I'm Steven. All right.
Hey, nice meeting you, man.
Yeah.
I'm not fast enough.
Yeah, you go ahead.
What about it?
Sorry, I'm sightseeing.